Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing a list of books that I think would be good to read / listen to when you are sick. This came about in my brain because it has been almost a year to the day since I was diagnosed with Lyme disease. When I was really sick, all I could do was lay on the couch and listen to books. So I thought it'd be good to have a little list of books that are good to listen to when you're sick, whether that be with something like Lyme disease or even just a cold or the flu, or even if you're just not feeling great from those allergies. My main criteria when going through books that are good to listen to or read when you're sick is mostly that they are easy to follow. The first book on this list is Arusha and the End of Time by Roshani Chokshi. This is a middle grade book, and I think almost any middle grade will work if you're not feeling well because it is a little bit simpler and the writing style is a little bit easier to follow. In this book, we follow 12-year-old Aru, who has a bit of a problem with lying. She has told her classmates at school that for the fall break, she is going to be going to France. However, as the fall break approaches, I believe it's the first day of the fall break, these kids from school show up to the museum where Arusha's mom is like the curator, and they start teasing her. To impress these kids, Aru decides to light this ancient lamp. And when this happens, the sleeper is released, and all of the kids and Aru's mom are frozen in time. And it is up to Aru to go on an adventure to save them. This book was really fun. It has one of the tropes I really like, which is, I guess I don't know if it's really a trope or if it's just kind of like a little element that I like, which is a character who stays in the same outfit the whole time. In this case, it's Aru in her pajamas. I just love that when they are, I don't know why I like that so much, but I think that's a really interesting element to add to a story. This book is really transportive and really fun, and it is really easy to get into and absorb, even if you are maybe not feeling well and you're having a hard time concentrating. Next up on this list, we have the Remembering Isaac trilogy by Ben Behunin, consisting of Remembering Isaac, Discovering Isaac, and Becoming Isaac. In this book, we follow a young man named Jake who just graduated from high school and moved to this tiny town to become the potter for this town. The old potter recently passed away, and in the story, we follow Jake as he discovers the secrets and the stories of the people in this town who just adored this potter so much and would go and talk to him every time they were having issues. I remember this book being very just lighthearted and fun. It doesn't really deal, if I remember right, with anything too seriously or too heavy. However, it has been a long time since I have read this book. I don't remember some of the finer details. I do remember the writing just being very, very easy to get into and kind of simplistic. Not in a bad way, but in a way that would be really good if you're not feeling well. Next up, we have Arsenic and Adobo by Mia Manansala. In this, we follow Leela as she moves back to her hometown after breaking up with her fiance, and when she moves back, she ends up helping her aunt in her aunt's restaurant, and one day her ex-boyfriend from high school comes in and dies in the restaurant after eating their food. And we're trying to figure out what happened. This book is on this list because I found the writing to be easily accessible and the story to be really transportive, and I think those qualities make it a good one for if you're not feeling well. Next up, we have Alatsue by Darcy Little Badger. In this book, we follow Alatsue, who is a Lipan Apache young woman who has the ability to see the ghost and summon the ghosts of dead animals. This is a power that has been passed down through the generations of her family. And in the story, she uses this power along with her family and friends to help solve the mystery of who killed her cousin. I really, really enjoyed this book, and I thought the audiobook was really good. I thought the mystery was really well done. And one thing that I enjoyed a lot about this book that is not always seen in YA books is the involvement of the family. And you're not just sitting there wondering, hey, what happened to all the adults? Where Are Your Parents? Up next, we have Kill the Farm Boy by Delilah Dawson and Kevin Hearn. This is a satire book on fantasy tropes, and on the back it says, "Once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom, a hero, the chosen one, was born. And so begins every fairy tale ever told." This is not that fairy tale. There is a chosen one, but he is unlike anyone who has ever been chosen. And there is a faraway kingdom, but you have never been to a magical world quite like the land of Pel. There, when a quest goes painfully awry, it's up to a talking goat, a mighty warrior who resents her chainmail bikini, an assassin with a fear of chickens, and a cursed, fuzzy-tailed bard to set everything aright. Beset by evils and the Dark Lord Toby, this intrepid company journeys toward the most peculiar, happily ever after that ever once upon a time. This book overall is just really lighthearted and fun, and again, so easy to follow. It does kind of poke fun and have a little bit of commentary about some of the more problematic fantasy tropes, like why is the woman warrior always in a bikini or wearing something that wouldn't actually protect her. So it does kind of address those things, but it does not take itself seriously at all, and is the perfect book if you just need something easy and light to read. Next, we have The Prince and the Dressmaker by Jen Wong. This is a graphic novel, and I honestly think most graphic novels would be really good to read if, when you are sick, you can actually physically read. This graphic novel is so cute. It is so fun. We follow a prince who likes to wear dresses and the dressmaker who makes them for him. It's just so heartwarming and fun and charming. And I honestly don't know what else to say about it because it is practically perfect. Next, we have Every Heart a Doorway by Shauna McGuire. I think also pretty much any novella in this series, the Wayward Children series, or honestly any novella, because they are short. And that's another tip I think for reading when you're not feeling well, is going for things that are shorter, because the story tends to be a little bit less intense and easier to digest. In the Wayward Children series, we follow these children who find these doorways to their perfect world. And when they come home after being in their perfect world, they have a hard time adjusting back to the real world or the normal world or whatever you want to call it. So they go to this like boarding school group home thing that is owned by Eleanor West, and they together help each other kind of adjust or have a safe space to talk about their experiences. I have read 2 of the novellas so far, just the first and the second one, and they are honestly just really good, really engaging, and the world building is surprisingly good for a novella this short. Next, we have the Harper Hall of Pern trilogy by Anne McCaffrey. This consists of Dragon Song, Dragon Singer, and Dragon Drums. As you can see, all of these books are really short. This trilogy is honestly amazing. It is one of my favorite trilogies of all time. In this trilogy, we follow Melanie, who grew up in a sea-hold, but loves music. She's not allowed to be a harper because she is a girl, but she is the only one qualified to teach the children when the old harper of this sea-hold dies. This trilogy is honestly so good. I love Anne McCaffrey's writing. I love the world of Pern. And this is a trilogy I have listened to multiple times. The audiobooks are fantastic. Overall, Anne McCaffrey's writing I find to be very accessible. However, there is I think each one of her books, an info dump forward at the beginning of each book. And that is a little bit difficult to follow. But once you get into the story itself, the story is just so good. I think the story is really engaging, easy to follow. Also, it just gets to me, you know? I just feel so strongly for these characters. I think Anne McCaffrey's writing is phenomenal. Next, we have the Diviners series by Libba Bray. This is another one that I listened to all the books. I only own the first one in physical form. I listened to this series actually right before I got diagnosed with Lyme disease. This series is very, very interesting. This series I find a little bit difficult to describe what happens, partially because I have already listened to all of the books, so I don't want to give spoilers for what happens throughout the series, and also just because Libba Bray did a fantastic job of creating a really intricate story without making it difficult to follow at all. I'm just going to read the inside flap to make sure I don't give any spoilers. It says, Evie O'Neill has been exiled from her boring old hometown and shipped off to the bustling streets of New York City, and she is positively ecstatic. It's 1926, and New York is filled with speakeasies, Ziegfeld girls, and rakish pickpockets. The only catch is that she has to live with her Uncle Will and his unhealthy obsession with the occult. Evie worries he'll discover her darkest secret, a supernatural power that has only brought her trouble so far. But when the police find a murdered girl branded with a cryptic symbol and Will is called to the scene, Evie realizes her gift could help catch a serial killer. This series is really good. The audiobooks are fantastic. The only issue I personally had with the audiobooks that maybe you wouldn't have if you're reading it is Evie calls her uncle Unc a lot. And just hearing that word, I just don't like how it sounds. That was the only thing I disliked about the audiobook, was just the sound of that one word. The last thing on this list is a Truly Devious series by Maureen Johnson. In the series, we follow an elite boarding school in two timelines. One of them is present day, where we have a young detective who is trying to solve the murder that happened in the first timeline. And in the first timeline, we are following the school right as it opens, and the owner of the school, his daughter, is killed. I loved this series. I binged through it so fast because the writing was very engaging. I thought the story was very engaging, and I just had to know what happened. The mystery was very well set up, and the twists and turns that this book takes are really, really good. I found each of these books really easy to get into. I felt very involved in the story, and again, another perfect book to listen to if you are not feeling well, because it will take you to this boarding school and you will be so involved in this mystery. And that's it for my list of books I think would be really good to read if you are sick. All of these books I found easy to get into and engaging. Those are my top 2 criteria for recommending a book to read when you're sick. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!